Today is March 26th, 2015, and I've made a couple of video clips already about Gary Middleton and Goldsmith, who is related to Carol Middleton, Carol Goldsmith Middleton, and I talked about a couple of the rapes that happened, and was last saying how then I was in Colombia and getting raped, and they tried to make it sound like it was a good thing for me to be supporting the rights of women, and everything was for a cause. And they tried to basically, like, they would rape me, do some really horrible things, get documentation on it, trash me any way they could, and ruin my future. And then, just to sort of like slightly pacify me, they were treating me like a dog. And so they basically say something like, throw you a bone, and so they could beat me and rape me and do all these horrible things, and then to try to stop me in my tracks, they'd knowing that I was maybe starving, and they would then like throw a big steak at me, which lasted for a couple minutes, but it was enough to distract me for a short while, and to think that I had a reason to live. And this was actually that their whole plan was just to was all for my benefit. And when it wasn't, they were not doing things that benefited my life, or that were upholding any of my rights, or things that normal people should be able to have, and things that this country says that you have a right to have if you're born here. So things were pretty bad. And another thing that happened in Colombia is that this was also another sort of plot that was unfolding, because it wasn't like I just got sent to Colombia and presto, I was in Colombia and hadn't ever been there before, and this random thing happened to me, and now I was supporting Colombian women and who were sexually exploited by others. And the whole idea was under diplomatic immunity as well, because supposedly these men had diplomatic immunity, like U.S. soldiers had diplomatic immunity from being prosecuted over sexually raping Colombian girls and women. And the other thing that was being thrown my way with some of these rape groups, gang rape groups, is that judges that were participating and involved in raping me were making jokes about it with some of the people that they were with, saying that they had judicial immunity. So there were not just like officials, and I guess not just officials and some kinds of government persons or royals or people connected to others who had who were in intel or military or I don't know, whatever. It wasn't just those kinds of people. It was also like judges and lawyers, and they were all supporting each other. It was like some of them really thought it was great. They thought it was like this great game, and I think they really enjoyed being part of it. It was like this wolf pack against me, because they'd have a couple of guys do something really bad, and then all the other guys and their wives, or women who supported them, would encourage it too. And they'd all join in together as like, okay, now we're going to be your cover so she doesn't remember what you did. And like they enjoyed it, some of them. They enjoyed being part of this big bullying group. You know, it was obviously more than a bullying group too. So, so when Gary Goldsmith did that, and it was, you know, it was involving some others too from the United States, and over in Colombia, it was kind of like a repeat of what he had done in England by getting really close to me, befriending me, and telling me he loved me, and he was protecting me, and whatever, a friend I could count on, and making me feel sheltered and safe, and then all of a sudden turning on me and hoping that I'd have a horribly depressed reaction from it, and that they could trigger me into wanting to commit suicide. He also was testing the idea of what if we commit suicide together. That was another thing that they wanted to try out. They had me a couple of times. The government was wanting to see if I would do a Romeo and Juliet kind of a thing with a man and also with a woman, like with a woman I trusted, and you know, would I be willing to end it all, that kind of thing, and or with a man. With a woman, it was poison, like would I drink poison, that kind of thing, and like basically what you would see over in like that thing that happened with the big compound over in Idaho, where they all drugged each other or drugged themselves, and then the place was on fire. Although I'm not sure that it was set on fire because they set it on fire because the United States set it on fire. But the other thing was guns. Are you ready to blow your head off with me? Which is what Gary Middleton proposed. Or Goldsmith. And no, I'm not joking, even though I laugh just because some of the things that have happened to me are so nuts that I talk about them out loud, and yeah, it sounds nuts. I mean, it almost makes you laugh. But it was really serious, and it's still serious because this country still has not backed down from their crimes of torture and kidnapping and rape. And some of the, when I say that being in Colombia was kind of like the unfolding of another plot, what I mean by that is Bechtel's were involved. Okay, so this is also then again bringing in the Bechtels with the Goldsmith Middletons, and my family and a couple of other families, and putting all of those people into the location of Colombia, and specifically at a U.S. Army base in Colombia. So, and the Ericksons, Michelle Erickson's family was also involved, and it was both of them, both her dad and her uncle or older brother, I don't remember whichever one was slightly close in age, or he was an adult, you know, he was maybe a young adult, but he was an adult. I think she has a relative named Gary, and she has another one named Doug, and both of them were there. And another family that was there was Corinne. She's originally from Canada, and her family moved over to be next to the Myers family, Pamp and Barbara Myers in Moses Lake, Washington. They became best friends, but they already knew each other before that. And then, for whatever reason, Corinne's dad ended up becoming FBI in New York City. next to and then I guess she his daughter happened to marry a Whittemore, which is sort of random because one of the lawyers who was involved in a lot of this things that were happening to me when I was a kid was Dick Whittemore, Richard Whittemore, and he was involved for a short time, like when I was really young, and then I didn't see him again for a long time until I was in court doing some litigation myself in 2002 to 2005. So it was much, much, much later. And so some of these individuals who were all positioned over in Colombia, what they were doing over there, I'm really not sure exactly, but the thing that they had me do there was, I remember knowing as a kid, even then, or a preteen, I knew that the Bechtolds had devised their own cover for themselves. They wanted me to look like I was shaming and humiliating Janet Bechtold and a couple of other women. And but I knew that with Janet Bechtold, it was specifically because they were trying to make me look bad because their family had been involved in sexual exploitation of me and torture and holding me hostage. And so all of a sudden, something that they had programmed me to do and had me do when I was a little kid, like, much younger, maybe like under age 8, maybe, things that they had me doing when I was really little, they were then having me repeat when I was a little bit older, but putting it in a different context to make it look really bad. So once again, like how they would frame me for looking like I was consenting to rapes, or have assassinations look like they weren't really assassinations but just accidents or things that I did to myself. This thing that occurred over in Colombia, which was videotaped, I think was, I'm not sure that, I don't know for sure if the kids, like her sons, I don't know for sure if her sons knew that it was a setup, but I'm sure that they have heard how it was a setup because they know about all the other programming that was done to me. So, I mean, I would think to myself, well, maybe the videotaping was done to make me look really bad so Janet Bechtold could look like a victim, and then her son could get mad and feel he's justified to rape me. And they'd play this video to him, and he'd be like, yeah, I hate her, that kind of thing. But that doesn't make a lot of sense because the government was sharing so many other things with him, with Robin Bechtold, that it's not really plausible that they just showed him one small thing, to do that. So, and how many people they were showing these videos to, or that they were hoping to influence, I don't know. But it was a fact that this was something that was done. So, so I need to explain what happened in that situation with the quote-unquote shaming of Janet Bechtold and some of these other women, and in what context I'm referring to when I say they were programming me to do some of this when I was younger, because what they had been doing when I was younger is forcing me to manicure the pubic hair of government officials. And that was one of many things that they were making me do. And then they later wanted me to replay and redo some of the same things that they forced me to do when I was younger over in Colombia, and then get it all on videotape and have it look like I was mean and demanding and perverted or something. And when in actuality, the people who were looking like the victims, most of them were individuals who had conspired to have me do what they wanted me to do so that they could look like victims later, which is pretty astounding. But I will explain that in the next video clip. And if I don't do that tonight, because it's getting to be later in the day, I might just do it tomorrow because I'm kind of tired.